Tonight on our News Live at 7, shovels in the ground for a new $352 million development in Abaco. What tourism officials hope the project will do for the island's rebound. And will we see higher gas prices soon? The VP of the Petroleum Retailers Association explains why a hike at the pumps may not be too far off. But first, did he take it too far? Viewers react to an activist's attempts to demolish shanty towns. And then in our news at 7:30, the Prime Minister explaining why shantytown demolition is a process, offering little in terms of timelines. Our News Live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Ground was broken on another family island development, this one in Abaco, and is worth over $300 million according to developers. The Prime Minister touting the timing of the project post-Hurricane Dorian. Berthany McDermott was on the island as the details were revealed.
It's a $352.2 million development for Montage Key Abaco, which officials say will drive economic development to the island as it continues its rebound post-Hurricane Dorian. Prime Minister Philip Davis says projects like these are important for diversifying the tourism product.
This bodes well for the Bahamas. It opens up another income-generating avenue and will create long-term sustainable employment for many Bahamians.
The development, which is already under construction, will boast of around 250 rooms, 6 bungalows, 7 beaches, a marina, and single-family residences. The development is birthed from a partnership with Montage Key and Sterling Global Financial.
We have villas sold already down here and down there, and it will create hundreds of jobs for local people. Montage will train people both on their hotel sites around the world and here. And before we even open, we're going to have a month of training on site to make sure everything's right, from going through a mock wedding, going through banquets, etc.
We have a huge responsibility as we develop and as we manage to be great stewards of what Mother Nature has delivered. And we share Sterling's commitment to making sure that for generations to come, the pristine nature and the beauty of the Bahamas is maintained and enriched.
The development employs more than 60 people. That's expected to double over the coming months. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper says the development will help boost the island's tourism product.
We already started to brag about this development internationally, so it's great for the rebuild of Abaco. It's great for investments, it's great for tourism. This is going to be a fantastic touch to the landscape of the product here in Abaco and the Keys.
Now, as for when this beachfront development will be completed, officials are hoping to cut the ribbon by the end of 2024. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. And coming up at 7:30, we question the Prime Minister about the demolition of shanty towns as a CARICOM mission heads to Haiti to discuss security concerns. In the meantime, the latest efforts by a fringe political party to rid New Providence of illegal housing structures and squatters getting mixed reaction tonight. Joshua Williams is following the story.
It's a court warning. Remove your stuff off of which you're stealing property, all right? And because the stealing is removing these houses.
What are people stupid or what? If Sandlands need to put another room on Sandlands, because something is wrong.
There are mixed reactions to Coalition of Independence leader Lincoln Bain's efforts to rid New Providence of shanty towns. Viral videos and live feeds showing Bain along with supporters and in some cases property owners entering shanty towns with documents in hand threatening to displace them. These residents say they are happy that someone is agitating on their behalf.
If he isn't agitating, how I would ever know what happened over how the woman was living over Paradise Island? The Haitian woman that was so big and so bold.
They sent police tell them bye bye, even in Creole, and then when Lincoln them gone to do the thing, they tell them, if you listen to them, you have to move from here. But they didn't tell one Haitian to move from here.
While these residents say they do not agree with the method Bain is taking, they understand his frustration.
Sometimes we have to take drastic measures to get our voices heard. Maybe there's another way, but how many years we've been waiting for that other way?
I don't think that's his job to do that. And at the same time, you have to remember they're still human beings. Do it the proper way. I don't agree with the shanty towns, but I do agree that they need to leave or get it done the proper way.
And as for what more government can do,
they need to aggressively collect these illegals, man. The people who are not straight to be here.
Government should be on it. What you mean what more should they do? They should do right. That's it.
Reporting for our news, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks a lot, Joshua. And now to this. A 48-year-old man who sexually abused his teenage daughter was sentenced to 25 years in prison for incest. The sentence takes effect from the date of his conviction on October 18, 2022. In passing the sentence, Justice Gilomena Archer-Minnis said the man, who cannot be named to protect the victim's identity, repeatedly breached the trust of his daughter, whom he was supposed to protect. The man forcibly took his then 15-year-old daughter's virginity after he pinned her down by the pool at the gated community where he lived in 2015. Now, after the encounter, the man apologized and promised his daughter that he wouldn't do it again. However, he broke that promise on October 13, 2016, after he forced himself on his then 16-year-old daughter after playing porn videos. The matter was reported to police after the girl told a teacher about the abuse. The girl secretly recorded her father begging him not to tell anyone about the abuse because he didn't want to go to prison. And a recent murder and multiple shootings during a Super Bowl party leading to the arrest of 9 people in Operation Gambier in western New Providence last evening. The operation, featuring road checks, stop and searches, and execution of warrants, all taking place between 6 p.m. on Sunday and 2 a.m. this morning. Officers from the Western and Cable Beach Divisions, Communications Unit, and Fire Services stopped and searched 40 vehicles and issued 30 traffic citations. The 9 were arrested for crimes including rape, harboring a criminal, and outstanding warrants. Officers say they also found marijuana in bushes behind a home, the drugs, with an estimated street value of $6,000. And another man remains in hospital tonight after 70% of his body was burned in a boat fueling incident on East Bay Street yesterday afternoon. Police say the man was refueling his boat at a local marina around 2:30 when he was injured in the process. He was taken to hospital for treatment. No word on his condition. Well, we've got a whole lot more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. And standing by in the Weather Center is meteorologist, as always, Greg Thompson. He's got your latest look. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Indian, and happy Monday evening, everybody. Yeah, it's been about the heat. It's very warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-70s. We did manage to get up into the mid-80s earlier today. Clear skies. Your winds are out of the southeast at 7 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature is at 75. Temperatures around the islands tonight, right now, it's 76 in Freeport, 77 over in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, Great Harbor Key. Pick up 78s in Allenstown, Bimini, 76 in Nicholstown, Andros, a pair of 75s over in Governor's Harbor and here in the capital earlier. 76, Kemps Bay, 75s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Cuba Downs in Salvador, a pair of 78s in Georgetown, that's Exumas, pardon me, and in Deadman's Key. And in the deep south, temperatures a little warmer there, 78s in Duncantown, Ragged Island, more 77s popping up in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, Abrahams Bay, and our neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands. Deep south, Matthewtown, Inagua, rounding out our temperature profile at 78. Taking a look at our satellite picture, nothing really happening across us. That dry, stagnant air mass associated with that ridge of high pressure that's been dominating our weather for the last, week, maybe week and a half. That's still with us, and that ridge is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's going to continue to meander just across our area. So the dry air mass, warm temperatures, the light winds will continue for us through most of the week before we do see a frontal boundary, possibly getting in here by Friday. That's a look at our weather. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, why we may soon see a rise in the price of fuel at the pumps. And in training, how new price control inspectors are being prepared for the job. And later, we'll tell you how much money government spends on patching potholes every year. The story when our news returns.
Whether you're battling a chronic condition or offsetting a new injury, Doctors Hospital's comprehensive rehab services offer the help you need now.
Go to doctors.
3 advanced facilities at Collins Avenue, Carmichael Road, in Cable Beach means your personalized plan for care is just a visit away. From physiotherapy to occupational therapy and speech and language pathology, our team approach is all about rebuilding together. For a full list of services, visit doctorshosp.com/rehabilitation. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now. Isn't your health worth it?
The Bahamas Petroleum Retailers Association advising motorists not to get their hopes up about a dip in fuel prices after the cost of gas skyrocketed last summer. Prices had steadily declined in recent months, but according to BPRA Vice President Vasco Bastian, there may not be any more good news soon.
The gas prices for the last few months have been trending downward. This is kind of the lull in the industry this time of the year. Once you see we go past Easter in the United States and around Europe, people drive more. And then that's where the supply and demand factor comes in. So the more people drive, those first countries, those OPEC countries that kind of control the price of fuel, tend to increase their prices.
Last year, the annual uptick was worsened by the combination of COVID-19 restrictions and the war between Russia and Ukraine, but Bastian says the higher cost of gas in the summer isn't new.
His annual trends in the business cycle, in the petroleum business cycle, annual trends, what goes up must come down. And hopefully right now it's down, but once it goes down, it starts to trend back up, and hopefully trending back up is a slower process than otherwise. But hopefully for now, they're manageable. The Puerto public, they're still completing. Just, you're used to $4.99 a couple of years ago compared to over the $5 mark. I don't know if we'll see that anytime soon.
All right, Armalena Leonard also spoke to Bastian about some ongoing issues with the Davis administration and how it could impact services at the pump. We've got that angle coming up in our news at 7:30. Meanwhile, price control inspectors and consumer officers are being properly equipped to better handle and regulate the cost of products and businesses across the country. This as the Department of Inland Revenue hosting a 4-day consumer affairs inspectorate training for the officers who will participate in seminars, information sessions, and on-the-ground training. Chairman of the Prices Control Commission, Robert Lightburn, says the training ensures no one in the department is left behind.
The training this week is expected to be comprehensive, covering all areas of the inspector's role and responsibilities, technical training, and practical element as well in the form of site visit. The ministry's efforts are commendable as it moves to ensure that it leaves no one behind.
Well, there's a new board in place at Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, and while a new group of leaders were selected for various positions, the president was re-elected. In this report, he speaks with our Talia Hall on plans for the organization and the way forward.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lacaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
James Carey was re-elected as president for the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce. Carey leads the 16-member team that provides support to the Grand Bahama business community. Carey has been president for the past 3 years, but admits that when he first came in office, it was challenging.
My term began at the end of the COVID season. So I perhaps came in at the right time, and I've had to go through a process of.
He says becoming president has been a gratifying experience and shared plans for the chamber going forward.
We have to basically be more engaged and more determined. I'm anxious to sit down with the new board of directors and benefit from their thoughts and input about the way forward.
The president says it is their goal to always be accommodating with the press.
I think that bodes well for us. We don't mind being under the light because it just ensures that we continue to do the right thing and always perform.
And he shared the uniqueness of the organization.
The Chamber is an association. It has no authority as the government would, or the power of legislation as the Port Authority would. So we have to do things on a different basis. We have to be more polite in our asking, and that is even making requests of government and Port Authority.
All right, that was our Talia Home reporting for us tonight. Well, the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute and Nova Scotia Community College signing a 3-year memorandum of understanding today to explore mutually beneficial opportunities. Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, says the idea came from a fact-finding mission to seek various opportunities available to Bahamians.
Their Center for the Built Environment. When I saw that, I saw BTVI on steroids, because it offered so many of the programs, the hands-on experience that we needed, especially on Grand Bahama Island, because we have this industrial community and there's so much training that has to be had there. And so I wanted to see how we could engage.
All right, to learn more about that, you can visit ournews.bs. Well, potholes, they remain a nagging concern for many motorists here in New Providence, but in tonight's Work in Progress segment, the chief engineer is addressing the issue and says the Ministry of Works is aggressively working day in and day out to rid the island of these nags. Here's our Talia Hall.
Officials at the Ministry of Works have a road paving schedule, and as a result, there are roads that they may not be able to attend to right away. So in cases like those, potholes are patched. That's according to civil engineer Francis Clark, who also explains what causes potholes.
Potholes usually appear after a rainy event. And once they appear, we would send out the Ministry of Works in-house crews to do the repairs, or we would have one of our 12 contractors who represents 12 separate zones to attend to those.
And if you did not know, patching potholes comes at a high price, amounting to over $1 million per year.
The cost of pothole patching is $37 per square yard versus $5 per square yard for paving.
And for those whose cars have been damaged by potholes, you may be able to receive some compensation.
But there's a process. The process is that you would write to our permanent secretary explaining the incident, the date and time, and we would have officers go there and carry out the investigation and to verify that there was in fact a pothole inside at that location, and also take photos of the vehicle.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Natalia Hall.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness leads a special CARICOM mission to Haiti. Plus, taking a closer look at the illegal migration crisis in the country. And later, we look back on the 2019 fire that destroyed the Britannia Mini Mall on Grand Bahama. The details when our news returns.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. The United Kingdom and the European Union sealing a deal on Monday to resolve a post-Brexit trade dispute over Northern Ireland, and they are hailing the agreement as the start of a new chapter. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced the Windsor framework after agreeing to the final details in Windsor near London. The agreement, which will allow goods to flow freely to Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK, ends a dispute between the UK and the EU. Sunak must now sell the deal to his own Conservative Party and its Northern Irish allies, namely Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, which is boycotting the region's power-sharing government until the trade arrangements are changed to its satisfaction.
Today's agreement delivers the smooth flow of trade within the United Kingdom. Goods destined for Northern Ireland will travel through a new green lane with a separate red lane for goods at risk of moving onto the EU. In the green lane, burdensome customs bureaucracy will be scrapped. It means food retailers like supermarkets, restaurants and wholesalers will no longer need hundreds of certificates for every lorry. And we will end the situation where food made to UK rules could not be sent to and sold in Northern Ireland. And friends, something that we've seen clearly in the past year as we join. And unlike the protocol, today's agreement means people sending parcels to friends.
Authorities say more than 100 people, including children, have died after their boat sank in rough seas off southern Italy. At least 62 migrants are confirmed to have died, with 12 children said to be among the victims, including a baby. People from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, Iraq, and Iran were said to be on board. The vessel, thought to have carried some 200 people, broke apart while trying to land near Crotone on Sunday. Bodies were recovered from the beach at a nearby seaside resort. The Coast Guard said 80 people have been found alive, including some who managed to reach the shore after the sinking. The New York Times reporting that Twitter has laid off at least 200 staff in another round of job cuts, and says the tech giant had cut 10% of its current workforce, which it estimated at 2,000 people. This latest round of job losses after Twitter's chief executive officer, Elon Musk, sacked about 50% of its 7,500 employees when he took over in October. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google-owned Alphabet announced tens of thousands of layoffs between them over the past few months. At the end of January, more than 10,000 jobs were lost in 8 days across 6 large tech companies, including Spotify, Intel, and IBM. And police in Ecuador say they have found almost 8.8 tons of cocaine in a shipment of bananas bound for Belgium. It was worth an estimated $300 million had they reached their destination. Ecuador has become one of the main transit countries for cocaine produced in neighboring Peru and Colombia. This latest haul was found inside a container full of banana cases destined for Belgium, which has become the country where the largest quantities of cocaine have been seized within the European Union in recent years. And Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness leaving Jamaica this morning to lead a special Caribbean community mission to Haiti. A statement from Jamaica's office of the Prime Minister says as part of this mission, members of the CARICOM delegation members are expected to have discussions with several critical Haitian stakeholder groups. Representatives from the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, and the CARICOM Secretariat are a part of the delegation. Holness is expected to return to the island later this evening. And this week's opinion piece, taking on the issue of immigration. As I See It columnist Tanya Smith Cartwright says, let's face it, we live in an extremely xenophobic society where most would wish all immigrants, legal or illegal, would be removed from the country forthwith. Smith Cartwright points to the Prime Minister's recent national address in which he spoke to the issue, but she also calls out locals, particularly those who vehemently condemn the illegal migration problem, but turn around and hire illegal migrants as maids, construction workers, and the list goes on. And she also calls out the Bahamians who lease crown land and rent plots to illegal migrants, thus the formation of shanty towns. If you want to read more about this, head over to ournews.bs and hit the opinion tab where you'll find today's piece and any other you may have missed. And remember, As I See It publishes every Monday at ournews.bs. Still to come on Our News, Today in History, find out interesting facts about the day that was February 27th as Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip make their first royal visit to the Bahama Islands in 1966. Plus, Greg is back with your extended weather forecast. And then at Our News at 7:30, are you ready to pump your own gas? There may be a chance. There may be a change at the pumps ahead, according to retailers. That's coming up when Our News returns.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was February 27th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1768, Governor John Halkett was born in Scotland. Halkett served for 4 years from 1801. In 1966, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip began their first royal visit to the Bahama Islands. This photograph shows Queen Elizabeth at the Straw Market in Nassau during their 2-day visit. Then in 2017, at a Progressive Liberal Party meeting in Fox Hill, then Prime Minister Perry Christie used an obscene gesture in response to an unspecified person who he taunted as a lunatic, who he claimed said he should deny owning a condominium. There was mixed reaction to the gesture, with some calling for an apology or resignation. 2 days later in the House of Assembly, Christie expressed regret over the incident. 2019, fire destroyed the Britannia Mini Mall in Freeport, Grand Bahama. The building, housing about a dozen businesses, was destroyed. The cause of the blaze was suspected arson, and a female suspect was taken into custody and later charged with setting the fire. All right, if you want to watch that historical recap again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Natalia Hall. She's got the latest headlines. And Natalia, the Britannia Mini Mall. I know you're from Grand Bahama, so what does that area look like now since that?
Yeah, it's back to life. Watching that story, it took me back a bit. I remember that exact moment, but you know, time brings on changes and it's up and going. I have a number of stores, a variety store, a hair store, a shoe store. So that
a good bounce back.
Yeah, it's back.
All
so it's good. It's good that it's back. Thanks so much, Ken.
All right.
Well, we are still following the Shantytown dilemma with the nation's chief weighing in tonight. And also, are you prepared to pump your own gas? We explore the question coming up in just a moment.
Timeline yet. New tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. The Prime Minister offering few details about when the Shantytown demolition will begin. An 18-year-old appears in court in connection with a Valentine's Day shooting that left one person dead and another injured. Plus, are you ready to get up and pump your own gas? We'll tell you it may be a part of big changes at the pumps. And later, a new initiative for egg production in the country hatches. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. The Prime Minister unable to say when demolition of shanty towns will take place weeks after the injunction blocking demolition was lifted. This as a mission heads to Haiti to discuss security concerns. Bertie McDermott reports.
You don't want to solve one problem and then create another.
Days after announcing his government's plan to address shanty towns, Prime Minister Philip Davis could not say when demolition of those structures will come. However, he gave the assurance that it will happen, adding that it's a process.
Documented Haitians who are in shanty towns, we are going to find who their employees are and oblige those employers to find a place for them to stay. Undocumented persons living in these shanty towns, we will process them and repatriate them. Bahamians who are living in the shanty towns, we'll speak to them and ask them to move out. That's a process. Once that is completed, and that is ongoing as I speak.
His comments come as a mission left for Haiti this morning, including Immigration Minister Keith Bell, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe, and other CARICOM members. Davis says the purpose is to discuss security issues in Haiti. We asked the Prime Minister if the Bahamas will supply manpower support to Haiti.
Whether we'll put boots on the ground, it's not a matter on the table now, but we are prepared to do our part to ensure that we achieve the ultimate goal.
The Prime Minister says the goal is to find ways to stabilize Haiti, noting that without a solution, immigration issues will continue to plague the Bahamas.
We will do our part to ensure that a space is created for the movement, free movement of people to lead to a free and transparent election.
Over the weekend, Coalition of Independence leader Lincoln Bain went into a shantytown in New Providence with a woman claiming to be the owner of the property. The intention was to demolish the structures on that property. The Prime Minister also hitting back at former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who says government is pandering on the shantytown issue.
I don't understand what he means by pandering. The overarching principle is that the rule of law must prevail, and that we will be enforcing the law.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Berthany. Well, a teenager is behind bars in connection with a Valentine's Day shooting that left one man dead and another injured. Prosecutors say 18-year-old Antoine Adderley is responsible for the February 14th murder of Gordon McKenzie and the attempted murder of Ingramson Toussaint. Police said the victims were sitting in a yard on Key West Street when two gunmen opened fire on them. Adderley was not required to enter pleas to the charges when he appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. Now Adderley returns to court on May 18th. Police are investigating a shooting incident that occurred early this morning, leaving two men injured. Reports are that just after midnight, the victims were attending a party on Step Street in Fox Hill when they were shot by an unknown gunman. The victims who were shot to the lower body were transferred to PMH in a private vehicle where they remain. Now, if anyone can assist police with this matter, they're asked to call telephone numbers 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. The vice president of the Bahamas Petroleum Retailers Association says if things does not change for the industry soon, customers could experience vastly different service at the pumps. Marlena Leonard has the story.
There have been layoffs at some gas stations since the minimum wage increase implemented in January of this year. That's according to Vasco Bastian, the vice president of the Bahamas Petroleum Retailers Association.
Across the board, we in this industry decided that we would reduce the hours of work. In some cases, we also reduce employees. At my station, we reduced 2 employees. A couple of my colleagues within the industry also reduced 1 or 2 of their employees. So regrettably, we had to do that.
The Bahamas Petroleum Retailers Association is still hoping to have a meeting with Prime Minister Philip Davis and Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkitis to find what they hope to be a simple fix, moving from a fixed margin to a floating percentage margin. But Bastian says it's been hard to get any response.
We had addressed a letter to the Office of the Prime Minister, and a copy of it went obviously to Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkitis in regards to our margin increase that we've been lobbying for, trying to discuss with them. It's been over a year now. We've not gotten a response to that letter. We sent a most recent letter, I think it was in December, but prior to December we also had sent a copy of that same letter mid-year last year, and we still haven't gotten an acknowledgement.
If no action is taken to amend the margins, Bastian warns it could lead for the industry to request something that would change the face of gas stations in the country.
Can we go to self-service in this country? If nothing changes, can we have all gas stations in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas go self-service? So we do away with the jobs completely. Hopefully we don't go down that road because, at the end of the day, I think people are become accustomed to the full service.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Clear skies outside the Our News studios tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest conditions. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Natalia, and welcome everybody for our first quick check on weather. It's pretty nice on the outside if you have any outdoor plans. Temperatures hanging out in the mid-70s, 75 degrees on the clear skies outside our studios right now. Winds out of the south-southeast at 6 miles per hour, and your field slight temperature at 75 degrees. Quiet weather around the islands, lots of hot temperatures we experienced earlier today. Temperatures hanging out in the mid-80s for the highs. But that high-pressure system will continue to dominate our weather, keeping us under dry conditions. Not much in terms of clouds or showers expected throughout the rest of the week. That's a quick check on weather. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast. It's still to come.
Still to come on Our News, will Grand Bahama motorists who wreck their cars on the Fishing Hole Road Causeway get repair assistance? And what does it take to prepare government's mid-year budget? Our Sasha Lightborn sits down with the financial secretary. And later, why Bishop Lawrence Rowe says the need is still great to help Bahamians in need. That's all coming up when Our News returns.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs and the Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation unveiled the Golden Yoke Project at a groundbreaking ceremony in New Providence this afternoon. The project, which promises a state-of-the-art feed mill, 7 grow houses in New Providence and another 38 grow houses in the Family Islands, promises the creation of 90 new jobs. Agriculture Minister Clay Sweeting explains how Phase 1 will work.
The special purpose vehicle will provide the building, the layers, the VAT services, and other inputs. The contracted farmer will monitor and care for the investment. Upon production, the contracted farmer will sell all the eggs to the special purpose vehicle, who will deduct the costs of the inputs and pay the profits to the farmer. The special purpose vehicle will sell the eggs to the wholesalers for distribution on every food store shelf throughout the country.
Now, the project is a part of a goal to help reduce our billion-dollar import bill in hopes to see 13 million eggs annually from the Family Island grow houses alone. Here's Prime Minister Philip Davis speaking to the impact the Golden Yoke Project will have on our food import habits.
We are ushering in a new age of agriculture, an age of promise and prosperity, an age where we make the most of what we have in the most sustainable manner possible, with a vision to slash our import bill by 12.5 million and secure 100% local egg production. The Golden Yoke Project is an urgent and crucial undertaking, one that promises to move the needle toward greater food security for our country.
Now turning to Grand Bahama, as we have an update on the Fishing Hole Road Causeway. Tonight, the Ministry of Works Chief Engineer for Family Island says an assessment is complete and work begins in a few weeks.
The reason why the bridge was closed was because of the skid resistance. People were complaining that when it rains, they're skidding and getting into accidents.
That's Senior Engineer for Family Islands at the Ministry of Works, David Cox, confirming some of the issues surrounding the Fishing Hole Road Causeway. He says the assessment by the Ministry of Works is now complete and shared details of their findings.
We've discovered, yes, that the skid resistance is not up to standard. So we have proposed to repave the whole section in asphalt.
Cox says Cabinet has approved the project and a local contractor in Grand Bahama will carry out the work.
We're now in the process of preparing the contract documents so the contractor can start working on getting this repaired. The estimate for the repairs is going to be 3 to 4 weeks.
And he had this message for motorists in Grand Bahama.
We can assure them that we're doing everything that we can to get this repaired as soon as possible.
Now, some have asked whether those who got in accidents on that causeway would be able to receive assistance from the Ministry of Works to repair their vehicles. Here's what the senior engineer had to say to that.
I cannot say. I don't know the details of those accidents, and I understand that speeding might have been a factor in some of those incidents, so it's difficult to make an assessment on that at this time.
The 2022-2023 mid-year budget debate will begin on Wednesday. But what exactly is a mid-year budget, and why is it necessary, and what purpose does it serve? Well, our Sasha Lightborn has all of those answers in this report.
The mid-year budget is essentially a report on fiscal performance for the first 6 months of the year, from July 1st to December.
You may be wondering why Financial Secretary Simon Wilson refers to that period as the first part of the year. Well, for parliamentarians, the budget does not operate on the calendar year from January to December, but rather a fiscal year, which is July 1st to June 30th. And here's why.
In 1992, when Mr. Ingram came in, his view was that the budget in the calendar year did not allow the time for the necessary debate. You'll be debating the budget in the Christmas season. In Parliament, it'll be a rush process and so forth. And he made the decision then to move it to a fiscal year, and subsequent to that, any change in administration kept the same fiscal period.
And how long does it take to get all of government's ducks in a row for the February mid-year budget presentation?
It takes us 6 weeks to close our fiscal year, or close any month. So December results will be available probably around the middle of February, complete results. So for us to meet the deadline, which is the last Wednesday in February, we have to start extra early. All right? So it is a very involved process.
But the main question, why is the mid-year budget necessary? The financial secretary gave this simple answer.
It allows the public a chance to see if the government's fiscal plan is going correctly.
The 2022-2023 mid-year budget had several revelations, most notably that for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, revenue collections saw a $111.5 million increase. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
All right, thanks, Sasha. Now, Sasha Lightbourne will have more for you on the mid-year budget and what all actually goes into putting it together in another report that airs tomorrow. When our news comes back from the break, despite a major donation from FTX, Bishop Lawrence Roll says the need is still great.
Plus, coming up in Sports for tonight, we'll take a look back at the North Long Island basketball tournament as they wrapped up activities over the weekend. Full details just ahead in sports.
Plus, the countdown to Karifta is on. Why the sports minister says we need the seats to be filled. The details when our news returns.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
This is our news. Welcome back. A well-known religious leader and social media sensation, Bishop Lawrence Roll continues to assist those in need despite the rising cost of living. But he says he cannot do it alone, as he insists a donation by FTX Digital went a long way. But he says there's still a great need. Jamila Mizik reports.
Singing Bishop Lawrence Roll has been running a feeding program on 2nd Street, The Grove, for years, feeding many of those in need. Roll and his ministry were one of the recipients of a major donation from the now bankrupt FTX crypto company.
If the truth be told, I appreciate God for FTX. Because of FTX donation, but a year ago, that put the ministry on another level. With no money coming in, I lost my grocery shop. And as I lost my grocery shop, FTX came in and they donate. Of course, the country knew it was on the news, $50,000.
He says along with the monetary donation came a 40-foot trailer, one that they struggled to fill.
That money gone just because we ran 2 feeding programs. The Wednesday one is the community one where persons come from everywhere. Sunday, if you see the children.
Roll says the feeding program's operations amount to almost $20,000 a week, and the rising cost of living isn't making it any easier.
Sometimes I go out and I would tell people, I said, donate water, donate sodas, whatever you could donate to help feed the people, do so. That ain't easy for me. It's because if they would donate rice and sugar and food, then you still need the season to cook the pot, and everything is expensive.
But he says he's appreciative to everyone who has assisted over the years.
I could never do it. You know, there are times I want to live a normal life and just go, but my heart wouldn't allow me. You know, sometimes, you know, like wherever you send for me, I say, I got to go, because this become a part of my life. And I appreciate the help.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks for that story, Jamila. And as renovations continue at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium to ensure it's ready for the Karifta Games, Sports Minister Mario Buleg says he needs those stadium seats filled come the Easter holiday weekend. Nearly $300 million is being spent on the track in both the old and newer stadiums. But Buleg says it would make no sense if Karifta arrives and residents do not come out to watch.
We want the Bahamian people to come out and support the Bahamian athletes, and the tickets are very cheap, $10 for the tickets in the general area, and I think, you know, that's very little that we can spend just to show the support to our athletes and give them that support they need for them to have that extra boost to cross that finish line.
And the sports minister also making this point crystal clear.
The tickets are going very fast, and unfortunately, I don't have any comp tickets. I've been called over and over for comp tickets, but I haven't been received any thus far. I'm asking all Bahamian fans to please come out, support your Bahamian athletes, and let's make sure we perform very well in this Karifta and give Jamaica the best beating that we can give them.
All right, the Long Island basketball tournament officially in the books. Meanwhile, Hugh Campbell's set for the grand finale tonight. Marcellus Hall is up now with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Well, over the past weekend, the North Long Island basketball courts seeing a lot of action as teams from all around the country, in particular the Family Islands and some from New Providence, making their way right here to vie for the various championships. Let's take a quick look and see exactly how things went down. North Long Island basketball tournament wrapping up with 4 championship games on Saturday night at the basketball courts in Long Island. Taking a look at your overall finishes. Talios taking home the junior boys crown. They beat D.W. Davis 32-27. D.W. Davis would get some revenge in the intermediate boys division as they beat Talios there 35-30. In the senior boys division, Central Eleuthera outlasting Exuma 29-17. And the senior girls division won by MGM Major as they beat North Long Island 14-9. League officials pretty pleased about how things turned out, already looking forward to next year. Taking a quick jump now to some other activities from around the nation. The Hugh Campbell basketball tournament, they get set to continue tonight with games scheduled for this evening. At what's ahead for you there, going up against C.I. Gibson. That is your championship game, as both teams now setting up to become the Hugh Campbell champions for 2023. To the NBA we go, where DeAndre Ayton and his Phoenix Suns, they took on the Milwaukee Bucks, trying to stop the Bucks from getting 13 wins in a row. Started out well, didn't last. Milwaukee, 13 wins in a row now. They win 104-101. Looking at DeAndre's numbers, he finishes up with 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 block shots, but it would not be enough, as now the Suns, still sitting in 4th place, will now travel to Charlotte to take on the Charlotte Hornets. That next game comes your way on Wednesday. And that's your check on sports here on this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall here in Long Island. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on our news tonight, Grand Bahama students get wrapped up for the 50th anniversary of independence. Plus, your extended forecast is coming up on the other side of this quick break. Stay with us.
When we run because we can. We leap because we're free. And we push because it's what we do best. Our TV, home of the 50th Karifta Games.
Welcome back to our news. February is winding down as we will soon be welcoming spring. Greg is back in the Weather Center with our extended forecast. Greg?
Yeah, thanks again, Natalia. Welcome back, everybody, for our final check on weather. That ridge of high pressure has been persistent across the area for the last week, maybe week and a half, and it's going to continue to be with us for the remainder of this week before we do possibly see a frontal boundary getting into the northern Bahamas. We don't think it's going to make a clean shot through our area. It's probably going to stall just to the north of us. But that ridge is going to be responsible for very dry conditions, very warm temperatures, unseasonably warm temperatures. We're seeing temperatures getting up into the mid-80s, but the nighttime temperatures are falling off pretty nice as we lap clouds and the winds are falling off, so we start to see temperatures get into the upper 60s to low 60s during that time frame. But that ridge is going to slide out eventually by the end of the week, and as I mentioned, a frontal boundary possibly making it into the northern Bahamas, but we don't think it's really going to do much in terms of any significant weather or cool down. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. South to southwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. They will fall light and variable at times. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide is at 7:40 tonight for the central and southeast Bahamas. Southeast to southerly flow 10 to 15 knots. They will also fall light and variable at times. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, no change for our weather pattern for the next several days. That high pressure will remain in charge. Temperatures will stay in the 80s, and they will get even warmer by the end of the week. Fridays and Saturdays, we're looking for mid to upper 80s, and those nighttime temperatures will be in the low 70s. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe evening, everybody.
All right, thanks so much, Greg. Well, the Grand Bahama Independence Committee hitting the road to promote the Road to 50 campaign. Their first stop this morning was the Bishop Michael Eldon School in Grand Bahama. The whole purpose of the school tour is to ramp up students' interest in the upcoming independence celebrations. Delivering remarks at the Special Assembly was the Grand Bahama minister who told students they have an important role to play in the development of the country.
As young people, you have an essential role in shaping our nation's future. You are not the leaders of tomorrow. Rather, you are the leaders of today. And it is up to you to build on the progress that we've made and take our country to even greater heights.
The Grand Bahama Independence Committee says they plan on visiting a different school each week. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.